With the release of Dragon Ball Superhero, there has been a lot of hype around this movie, claiming that it's the best Dragon Ball Super movie. I do not agree with this, but at the same time, it is actually still really good. And there were a lot of surprising parts that I wanted to talk about in my non-spoiler review, which I can talk about in my spoiler review now. So if you have not seen the movie, go check it out. And let's go ahead and dive on into it. First of all, I just want to say that this movie surprised me a lot because with the marketing, I thought it would be a Gohan movie, but it's actually, surprisingly, a Piccolo movie. I did not expect it to be a Piccolo movie, and actually, I think that's where the movie was actually at its strongest, surprisingly. And even though it had a lot of goofball moments and stuff like that, and a lot of classic Dragon Ball humor, it actually worked out very well for the overall story. The best parts of the movie, to me, were actually the Piccolo parts, and I cannot believe that, especially as a fan of Gohan, and seeing him get his shine in this movie a couple of times. The Piccolo parts were actually the standouts, and that's actually incredible to me personally. Also, I adore the interactions that Piccolo had with Pan, and he's basically training Pan in this movie to fly and fight, which also, this movie reinforces the fact that Piccolo is best dad to Gohan, and is basically like a granddad to Pan, and those interactions that they have together, I don't use this word often, and I don't like using this word really at all, if I'm being honest, but they were actually really cute interactions between Pan and Piccolo, like especially when Piccolo has to use Pan to get into the Red Ribbon Army base to basically infiltrate them, and he basically tells her to pretend, and they work so well as a team, and it's just really cute interactions. But also, speaking more of Pan, there was something I didn't like that they did, was the fact that, yes, even though Piccolo used her to get into the Red Ribbon Army base, he did put her in danger. Like, she was fine, but what if Cell Max was activated then? Her life would have been in danger, and I'm not sure if I entirely liked the decision. And yes, I just want to say it was really awesome that Piccolo finally got some big shine in this movie, where basically they modified the Dragon Balls to give Piccolo more power, or to tap into his deep-rooted power, which apparently is pretty powerful. And we finally got a power-up for Piccolo that I think works. It's not over the top, it's not overly done, and it works well for the character, and it was really needed for him. Orange Piccolo was really cool. The best moment with the form being when he was fighting Gamma 2, and then he started punching him, wasn't affecting Piccolo, and he knocked him out with one shot. Also, I found the Gammas to be really interesting as characters, as these little superhero parodies like the Great Saiyaman. Really interesting and complex characters, actually. Basically being androids that were created by Dr. Giro's grandson, who was lied to about the main characters being evil. Once they noticed that they were good guys, they immediately stopped and tried to repent for what they did, or basically tried to kind of have a redemption. And I found that very interesting for these particular characters, that they were not really bad guys, and they actually did want to do the right thing as they were designed. Really, if you look at it, the main antagonist was really just the Red Ribbon Army and the Cell Max that they created. There were other characters who were kind of antagonists, but they were antagonists because they were basically fooled, and they basically were not knowing that they were antagonizing good characters. So really, this movie was very interesting in that regard. But as we all know, Dragon Ball is very much an action anime as well. So we can't really talk about this movie without mentioning some crazy action. The action scenes were actually pretty well done. Nothing really crazy, honestly. I mean, they're pretty average. I mean, they didn't do anything that really warranted making it a CGI Dragon Ball movie. The most they did were just a bunch of round shots, and that's where I can see where the CGI benefited a little bit, but nothing really crazy to really make me say that anything was really a standout. They were just isolated moments, really. Although, a lot of those moments were actually really cool, and they led to some pretty interesting stuff that happened in the movie. But the strongest thing of this movie was really the story. The story was the strongest part of the movie, and it had a lot of character interactions that just felt right, a lot of story moments that felt somewhat earned and very earned, and there were a lot of moments that they had that felt very compelling from a story's point of view, and I really did enjoy that. Now, I will say that the ending fight was the best with Cell Max. I thought that was just gorgeous, and I can proudly say that the best fight in the whole movie, which I'm glad that they pulled it back because it almost stole the show, was definitely that sparring match between Goku and Vegeta. That was so well choreographed, the music along with everything, and the CG animation actually worked the best in this scene because they actually used the camera for different moments that you couldn't do with the traditional animation in this fight, which is what I wanted more of throughout the entire movie. And it was just such a phenomenal fight, showing each character's strengths and weaknesses. And that post-credit scene of Vegeta winning, though he was messed up, was so very satisfying. Also, as a quick side note, seeing Dragon Ball blood is very rare nowadays. Yes, there is blood in this Dragon Ball movie. I just wanted to point that out. Not that I like it or anything. And yes, the moment that everybody wants me to talk about, and that is Beast Gohan. Actually, the moment worked a lot better than I thought it would. I did like how we saw Piccolo getting beaten up in front of Gohan's face, which is basically his father figure, getting beaten to a bloody pulp in front of his face, emotionally driving him into becoming this other form, this other power that's dormant within Gohan. It was such a powerful moment that I almost bought into it, and I really did like how it played out. I really did. And it was a pretty cool transformation moment, I'm not even gonna lie. But seeing that this is a Piccolo movie, that actually they just threw Gohan in last minute to really just kind of have this moment for him, which there's nothing wrong with giving Gohan a moment. Gohan deserves his time to shine. He's been gone for a while and we want our boy back. But at the same time, it did not feel entirely earned, as this movie wasn't really about him in any capacity. They mentioned that he did have potential to become one of the strongest warriors ever, and that is very true, as it was demonstrated in this movie. But at the same time, this was last minute, and it felt kind of cheap to give us a reference back to what was his childhood, his teen years, when he fought the original Cell. They even set up images just like that saga. His cloak is a reference to that saga, and everything else is a reference to that saga. Even the moment where he actually snaps and they have the red line pop behind his head before he transforms to represent his anger, is just like when he transformed to Super Saiyan 2 back then. Even this Beast Gohan form that he has is supposed to be a reference to his Super Saiyan 2 transformation, but because of the large hair and the CG modeling, it looks really silly. And I do love Gohan, but this is kind of iffy. Thankfully, even though I'm not a big fan of the form overall and a lot of the references that they made, I will say that they did give it its moment to shine, and the moment that he used that special beam cannon to blow a hole in Cell Max's head, which was basically his weak spot, to basically finish him off, was actually a really cool moment, and it showed just really cool character moments for Gohan that was very much needed for the character. Even though I don't like how he got to this point, I will say that I'm glad to see he's back, and hopefully he's here to stay, right? Honestly, I don't know what the future holds for Dragon Ball Super and these characters. I mean, this movie was actually a big step up from a lot of things. It's weird that the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie and this movie was actually better than a lot of the entirety of Super. It shows that there's a lot more passion going into these projects, and there's a lot more that they're planning on doing. Now, I'm not entirely sure if this movie's going to go along in the mainstream canon. I mean, it's written by Akira Toriyama, then surely it has to, but will it come back in the anime, or will they adapt the manga? Because if they adapt the manga, I don't think that'll be the best strategy, considering the manga has actually been pretty bad. I mean, besides the recent Black Frieza stuff, which I plan on talking about, I don't think it has been up to par with what they've done recently with this movie or Super Broly. Now, with Broly being trained by Goku, Vegeta, Beerus Whis, and these characters getting these new forms like Orange Piccolo and Gohan Beast, like, what will this do for the overall anime? Is this movie going to be relevant a couple of years from now? Who knows? And who knows what the future of Dragon Ball is? But what I do know is the videos I want to make that you guys should probably look out for. I do want to do a separate video on Cell Max. I want to do a separate video on Orange Piccolo, a separate video on Gohan Beast, and also I want to do a separate video talking about Black Frieza and the recent Dragon Ball manga. This movie was honestly a surprise. I was not expecting to think that the CG animation was actually pretty serviceable, but it actually was pretty okay, and a lot of the effect work looked really good with it. Now, I don't know what's gonna happen with this. I would like to see what they're gonna do. It was a big surprise, and honestly, I feel ashamed of the marketing because the marketing didn't make it seem like it was gonna be all that great. But it actually was, surprisingly, and I don't think this movie was talked about enough before its release. But even with its broken marketing, it's #1 in anime movies in the longest time since the original Pokemon movie, which showed that us anime fans are out there and we're there to support a franchise that we all love. And this, I would not argue, is probably in the top 3 Dragon Ball movies. And I was also wrong to doubt it before its release.